From the Denver Broncos Media Center, welcome to Broncos Country Tonight.
Now, on its surface, 14 straight for the Kansas City Chiefs now, and that is something the Broncos will have to figure out at some point. But it's a weird deal with this game because you're down 27-0. We might be talking about one of the worst losses in Broncos history, and suddenly a spark. You had an interception from Josie Jewell. The Broncos scored 21 unanswered. Another interception, of course, in the mix of that, Pat Surtain. Josie comes away with 2 interceptions. You had brilliant performances across the board, including from your quarterback. Now, again, Russell Wilson, a couple things. Of course, took 6 sacks in the game. That's something you don't want to continue. And, of course, he's in the concussion protocol. So there's all those things that kind of mix into this. But, man, I had a certain mindset of what we were going to be talking about on this after they were up 27-0, after the pick 6. And here we are talking about a 34-28 loss. And I don't know. I feel like the Broncos might have taken some steps forward.
It's the hope that kills you, right?
I know, every time.
But for a little bit there was hope. This wasn't an apathetic fan base. There were boos earlier in the game, and I can tell you, I went out and I walked amongst the crowd in that stadium. I am. I'm a man of the people.
Yeah.
And I tell you, it was the loudest cheers I heard all year. It really was. They were the loudest cheers I was hearing all year was in that stadium. It was a fan base that hadn't quit. It was a team that hadn't quit. And it was a quarterback that was showing a gutsy performance. Whatever you think of Russell Wilson, the person, Russell Wilson, the football player, still wants to win football games. That was a gutsy performance from Russ. He was getting beat down, and he went and put his body on the line on a run. And ultimately, it's probably going to cost him a few games in the concussion protocol. But he went out and put his body on the line. I thought it was kind of a bonding moment for Russell Wilson, the fan base. I felt like that was the seminal moment, as it were, where the fan base was like, "This is one of ours," you know?
Yeah, and I ran a poll shortly after the game, basically along that, like, where's your optimism level about Russell Wilson, about what the 2023 season could be if this is the last game he plays for this year? And again, I don't know that, but just under the fact that the Broncos are officially eliminated, there's 4 games remaining. I think there's still value for the offense to be out there and playing. So if he can go, I think he should. But that being said, if that's the last moment that Broncos fans remember, where's their optimism?
Well, yeah, and I think that's part of it because we've seen think pieces on what if they punt on Russ and just eat the giant cap hit and all this kind of stuff. And I think that the framing of the conversation going forward is how do we maximize Russ? And I think that's really where it needs to be. I think you see enough out of Russell Wilson right now that you're saying, okay, something has held him back this year. We can get more out of him. You can see it in this game.
The season has not gone the way the Broncos wanted in a myriad of ways, and you do still only have 3 wins on the season. Mm-hmm. But we've been looking for signs of life, and I think that to see the Broncos offense, the Broncos defense coming up with some plays. They have 3 interceptions on Patrick Mahomes. Now, some of that is on Patrick Mahomes. Some of those are really good plays. I mean, the Pat Surtain interception he had to pick up off the ground. Josie Jewell had to basically manipulate Patrick Mahomes. Usually it's the quarterback manipulating the linebacker or safety. In this case, Josie Jewell took one step one way and then took back the other way just so he could mess with Patrick Mahomes, and he ended up getting 2 interceptions. So what I liked about it is the team is not quitting. There's a lot of fight in that team. They're playing for each other. I know there was some people melting down about the Broncos defense going into the end zone and celebrating after the first interception. But the reality is you do that as a team. You do that as a bonding thing. And so those people who haven't played professional football or probably don't spend much time around this team very much anyways, I think that those people oftentimes are looking at through such a narrow scope. Mm-hmm. The reality is the team needs as many team bonding moments as possible down the stretch, because what you don't want to do is be continually a losing culture.
Well, right. And I think that there's something to it. If that's the spark you need, if that's the motivation, if that's what gives you the bonding moment to keep going and keep persevering through a tough time, hey, more power to you. You're going to have people that are going to cry about you no matter what you do. Oh, they didn't celebrate it. It means nothing to them to get the interception if they don't. So it's a darned if you do, darned if you don't kind of thing. And then those hot take guys, that's what they're going to do. They're going to find something to complain about, and they'll complain about it. So you got to kind of understand that. I thought it showed good resiliency from a team that didn't quit when they could have. You know how demoralizing it can be to have Pat Mahomes dead to rights,
yes,
and then watch him throw a touchdown twice. For him to change an arm angle and do the oop-de-oop stuff, and there was twice they should have had him dead to rights, and he wound up with a touchdown out of it. But they did. They persevered. They kept through it. They turned him over 3 times. They kept plugging away, and I think that's a testament to a lot of things. I think it's a testament to whatever you think of Nathaniel Hackett. He hadn't lost the locker room. He hadn't lost those players, Whatever you think of these people, whatever you think of Russell Wilson, he hadn't lost the locker room. Those guys are still out there fighting. So, I think there's a lot of narratives out there that the media people have put in that don't match up with the play on the field. You got 4 games left. 2 of them are pretty winnable. If you look at, the Cards and Rams, those are pretty winnable football games. You got a Chargers team that, who knows, and a chance to go into Arrowhead and spoil the end of their season. Why not? Before they go to the playoffs, why not? Mm-hmm. So, is it possible that they could win out? Yeah, it's possible. Is it probable? Probably not. But I think you get it in your head now that we can go toe-to-toe with anybody. You finally got some confidence. You didn't win that game, but you got confidence you can go toe-to-toe with anybody. And I think at that point, you look at it and you say, let's not give the Bears the number 2 overall. The Seahawks number 2 overall pick in the draft. Let's make it be the Bears. Yeah,
I think you said it right. And it's about building confidence. It's about building a belief within the organization, within the locker room. We got to get to Jerry Jeudy here and highlight the 3 touchdown performance. And you and I spent a lot of time this last week on Broncos Country Tonight, the radio show, talking about Jerry Jeudy in a wide receiver 1 role. And we wanted to see what that looked like. Again, people get to a certain point in the season. Maybe they're checked out. Maybe they're faux checked out, right? They'll say they're checked out, but they're still tweeting about it. But I wanted to see Jerry Jeudy in a wide receiver 1 role, and that was the performance, right? It's been since 2014, since Demaryius Thomas, who, by the way, was honored in this game, has put up a 3 touchdown performance for the Denver Broncos. I thought it was really special, and I think it was, you're talking about building something. I think for Jerry Jeudy, he needed that one.
Especially shaking off early frustration, too. Jerry Jeudy is the type personality that you've got to get him the ball early to keep him dialed in, keep him checked in. Different people have different motivations. Sometimes they tune out and they don't necessarily need to. And I think that I think that Jerry Jeudy's one of those people you got to keep kind of keep him fed and keep him happy in order to keep him dialed in where he needed to. And he showed a little frustration early. He showed a little frustration about not getting things the way he wanted to. But good for him for kind of staying in there. Because we have seen him check out before. We've seen him kind of half-heartedly go after blocks and things like that before. He needed to make this commitment to his teammates. He needed to put this tape out there to say, look, I can be this guy. You need to pay me. I can be this guy. And that's the thing. He's got a contract coming up, Got
a 5th-year option decision just this next year.
Yeah, they'll use a 5th-year option on him. But the major contract.
Well, but that was a question.
It was. That's to say. They'll use a 5th-year option now, buy themselves time to figure out the rest of the.
Isn't it amazing how one game? Oh God, we say that all the time. I don't want to interrupt your point.
No, but
we say that all the time about how this league really is week to week. And if you need more examples, this is a perfect one right here. The Jerry Jeudy putting that performance. Now we are talking about 5th-year option, and I bet you'd find a major amount of support for that decision. Where just a week ago, you'd be like, I don't know. Jerry really hasn't done very much, and that's a lot of money to give to a wide receiver that really up to that point hadn't had a lot of success.
You never know what to expect week to week. How mad do you think NBC is for flexing out Russell Wilson, the Broncos, Pat Mahomes in that game for Tua Tagovailoa?
Oh, come on. Yeah, a couple of
when he finished with 40% completion
yes,
percentage,
I
something
get
like
it.
that.
It was
3
pretty
of
rough.
20 to
but
start
guess
the
what?
season.
Justin Herbert was really special in that game, so the national audience got treated to that.
What was the final score? He was special. It was 24-17 final.
Imagine if you're NBC execs for just a moment and it's 27-0 after Russ throws a pick 6, and you're thinking, why did we stay with this game? Now, it ended up being tremendous. The Broncos scored 21 answered. Even Brett Rippon getting a touchdown there with Jerry Jeudy. But I'm just saying that there would be a moment there they'd be like, what were we thinking?
You're answering the question I haven't asked yet, which is don't turn the game off halfway through.
Very true.
If you're going to hire somebody, let them see their vision through.
And look at you making this a big picture. Here we go.
Here we go. Big picture item that I'm coming with here. Do I think that, we know George Payton's going to be safe. He's going to be back. He's getting a chance to execute his vision. TBD on some of the other stuff, but there's some changes coming at the end of the year. And I hope that this time when they put it all together this offseason, that they give it time to develop the vision that they intend when they start out.
It's what we see in the NFL constantly, where if you're a team that makes snap judgments constantly, guess what? You're going to be that organization where you're constantly looking for rebuilds, looking for the next fast, quick fix, rather than doing it the long right way. And that is tough. It's tough not to chase that a little bit, especially when you have Russell Wilson, who you believe you're in a window. So I can understand. Well, really, on either side of this. The only thing that I've said multiple times is I think it would be a mistake to fire George Payton, but At this point, you got new ownership. The decision's going to be in their hands. I think you still have games to play. That's the point you're making. There's still games to play. There's still a lot to learn about this team, and I think this is just another perfect example. Kind of last thing here is what we thought about this game. Yeah, the Broncos losing to the Kansas City Chiefs. I think a lot of people predicted. A lot of people had sort of expected, but the way they did it, the way that they fought, the way they sort of stayed in there, the way they gave themselves multiple chances at it, you're not telling me today that if Russell Wilson would have stayed in there the rest of the game that they wouldn't have had a chance to win that game. I think they do. I think they have a really good shot. There was like 10 minutes left in the game when he went out.
Yeah.
They would have multiple runs at it, especially once Josie Jewell got that second interception. They would have had multiple runs at it. I don't know. It would have been an interesting world to live in today if the Broncos would have come back from 27 down and won that game. But either way, I liked the fight, and I think that if nothing else, we learned something new about this team, and that's what people should take away from.
Yeah, we learned that there's a pretty good football team hidden in there that just needs to figure things out, and that's maybe a little late in this season to be saying that, but at the end of the day, that's what this football team is.
Well, on a very special happy birthday for Benjamin Allbright, thanks for hanging out with me, buddy.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right. For Benjamin Allbright, I'm Ryan Edwards. Have a great night. Thanks for watching Broncos Country Tonight.
Denver's going to win it! You can stand up and salute in Denver, and you got the world champions that live in your town.